Hello and welcome to a special mini episode of 50 Women Over 50, a podcast for women whose personal confidence is born of experience. I'm your host, Sherrilynne Starkie. The purpose of this podcast is to interview 50 women from all walks of life who are over 50 years of age about what they've learned by their fifth decade so that we can all learn from them. However, today I'm not interviewing anyone. I'm taking a break from interviews over the holidays, but in celebration of this show breaking into the Listen Notes top 10% of podcasts globally, I've prepared this little Christmas cracker. It's to show appreciation for the time and support of my first few guests, and of course, for you, my listeners. So with no further ado, here is 2022's top books as picked by 50 women over 50 guests. This recommendation comes from professional photographer Anna Epp, who was my first guest and was the inspiration for this podcast project.
I don't know if I can say this on air, but you're a bad something at making money. Bad acting person.
You can say badass.
Okay, and the Badass series by Jen Sincero.
Okay.
So I've been reading her. I do. And it's funny because I've read several of them now, but I also got into audiobooks. And so I listen to her when I'm driving sometimes. If I'm having I need a motivational day, I'll throw her on.
Certified health and nutrition coach Vynk recommends one of my favorite authors' seminal works.
Well, I've got Brené Brown's book that I'm just getting through. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. Dare to Lead.
Yeah.
So she's got some really great suggestions there, which I'm already trying to put into practice, especially that listening, right? That listening and not reacting, but to take it in. I mean, that to me is the big takeaway.
I went straight out and bought this book recommended by organizational design consultant Mary Daly.
Yeah. There's an author, Richard Rohr, and he's such an elegant writer and thinker, happens to be a Catholic priest, but he has written a book called Falling Upwards. And he talks about that second half of life in which you have an opportunity to be more reflective because the full busyness of family and career is at a different level.
I'm looking forward to reading this recommendation from author and media personality Kathy Buckworth. It sounds like it was written especially for me.
Book called Navigating the Messy Middle. One of the things she mentions in her book about this age is how important it becomes to hang on to our and to really recognize which ones are important to us. And I think that's what a lot of us missed in the last couple of years. A lot of us who were past the really hands-on childbearing years really had come to rely a lot on our community of women or support network of friends. And we lost that, right? A little bit. I think getting that back again is going to be super important.
Business owner and floral designer Michelle van der Bosch recommends this celebrity memoir, which has a twist that goes far beyond Hollywood tittle-tattle.
I am very interested in Anderson Cooper all of a sudden. I've just finished his chat that he had with his mom. It was a biography him and his mom did together, which was really quite interesting. His podcasts on death have been really good, and I recommend everybody listen to them.
Dr. Helen Ofosu, leadership expert and executive coach, recommends a work of fiction that she admits is a new genre for her.
Well, there's one book that's a little unusual that I've just been listening to on Audible. It's a new genre for me because technically it's a book that's for kids and adults, just the same way The Alchemist could be described or Le Petit Prince. It's called Beatrice and Croc Harry. It's a book written by Lawrence Hill.
Mabel's Labels founder and author Julie Cole recommends a new book written by a family member.
I want to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, who was my partner. She wrote a book called Big Gorgeous Goals. Her name's Julie Ellis, so I'd like to give her a shout out. It's a book about how when you pivot, how to set other goals and to follow them and how we have to embrace them. It's for probably very ambitious women. That's probably the market for it, really.
Canada's money coach Judith Kane recommends a book written by a Canadian author.
Really trying to read Canadian authors, and in particular maritime authors. And the one that I found that I'm loving is Leslie Crew, and she wrote The Spoon Stealer, which was on the CBC Canada Reads long list. A fantastic book If you like Maeve Binchy, it's in that same sort of genre. And her newest one is Nosy Parker. And it's loosely based on her life when Leslie lived in Montreal.
Professional saxophonist and former member of the Style Council, Hilary Seabrook recommends an autobiography from a British movie star.
One book that I have read recently, which I've really enjoyed, is there's an actor called David Harewood, he's a very famous British actor. And he's worked in Hollywood and done all sorts of things, but he's suffered from mental health issues, and his autobiography is amazing. Okay. I read that and really enjoyed that particularly.
Financial counselor Pamela George's recommendation really appealed to me. I bought it the day that we recorded her interview.
Atomic Habits really helped me a lot. The goal setting, New Year resolution thing is done all wrong.
Yes.
I don't think it's goals. I think really we need to have systems.
Okay.
And Atomic Habit talks about putting a system in place. And once the system is in place, meeting your goal is almost like second nature.
And that's it for the top 10 books of 2022 as selected by the guests of the 50 Women Over 50 podcast. I've put links in the show notes to all these recommendations and to the original show interviews of each guest. Can I ask a favor? If you enjoyed this Christmas cracker, please drop this show a rating or a review on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's connect and create a whole community of wise women over 50 by sharing a link to the show with your friends and connections. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all the best for 2023 from me, Sherrilynne Starkie. I'm your host, and this is the 50 Women Over 50 podcast.